Hello and welcome. I am Exolite, and this is my channel. This is the third part in a three-part series. In this series, we've talked about 4 murder victims. Carol Sund, Julie Sund, Sylvina Peloso, and Joey Ruth Armstrong. They were killed in the Yosemite National Park. They were innocent victims of a man who claims to have fantasized about killing women for 30 years. Who is this man? Who is Cary Stayner? Who is the man who confessed to these murders and then asked for the FBI to please get a hold of a Hollywood producer so that he could have a movie made about him? What would cause somebody to commit murders and then ask for such a horrendous favor, I guess you would call it? Well, let's find out. We're going to talk about who is Cary Stayner. If you are not already subscribed and you'd like to do so, please subscribe. If you would please give these videos a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. If you would share these videos with friends of yours who are interested in true crime, that'd be great. If you'd like to be notified when my content goes live, please click that bell. And here we go. A relatively quiet but friendly motel handyman. His name was Cary Stayner. His only passions seemed to be nude sunbathing and hiking. On his days off, he would escape to Laguna del Sol, which was a nudist colony in Sacramento County. Despite this, he never appeared to behave lewdly nor perversely in public. His colleagues said that they certainly never noticed anything odd. However, there were many warning signs during his younger years. Stayner's father, Delbert, admitted that he thinks his son Cary may have suffered a trauma at age 11. Cary's name might not sound familiar to you, but Cary had a younger brother. Cary's younger brother was named Stephen Stayner. On December 4th, 1972, Stephen Stayner, age 7, was abducted in Merced, California by child molester Kenneth Parnell. He was held by his abductor 200 miles away in Mendocino, California, until he was 14 years old, when he managed to escape with another of Parnell's victims, Timothy White. Stephen was brutally beaten and assaulted over those next 7 years. When he came back, his story became famous. Famous isn't quite the right word. There was a movie of the week made about him, a mini-series actually, and it was titled, I Know My First Name is Stephen. He never lived to see his brother become the kind of a monster who brutally sexually assaults and murders teenagers and women so he could be famous like his brother. Cary's father, Delbert, said that puberty-aged Cary endured some emotional hardships because of his brother's kidnapping. After graduating from Merced High School, Stayner worked as a window installer at a glass company. The Cedar Lodge hired him as a handyman in 1997 and gave him the use of a small apartment on the top floor. Management found him to be a hard worker and honest. In his capacity, Stayner performed technical and housekeeping duties, everything from fixing electrical and mechanical breakdowns to delivering extra towels and bedding to the guests. He usually ate lunch and dinner at the motel restaurant. Some who knew Cary were shocked at his arrest. Sandy Cox, whose husband owned the window company where Stayner worked for in Atwater, says, "We've known Cary since he was a little boy. It just doesn't match up. Out of respect for his family and the victim's family, we don't want to say anymore." Silvina Pelosa's mother, Raquel, said, "I just cannot understand how so many people didn't realize that maybe Cary was the man, since I heard that he was interviewed some time ago." But the FBI was reluctant to finger Stayner because they and many others did not believe that Cary acted by himself, given the brazen killings of the 3 women in the Cedar Lodge Motel and the disposal of their bodies. Many local residents were convinced that no one person could have created so much horror. The logistics of it say it had to involve more than one person, said Letty Carolyn Berry, the owner of the 70 Rosebud Lodge west of Cedar Lodge. Privately, some members of the Sund Peluso task force were saying the same thing to the media. Those sources say it is difficult for some investigators to believe that Cary Stayner could have gotten the jump on all 3 women without any help, let alone dispose of their bodies. The death penalty trial of Cary Stayner was moved from Mariposa County to Santa Clara County in May of 2002. Stayner pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to the 1999 murders of Peloso and the Sons. In mid-July of 2002, the trial began in Judge Thomas C. Hastings' courtroom. The prosecution team was headed by George Williamson and the defense team headed by Marcia Morrissey. He had talked his way into the room under the guise of fixing a leak before he then sexually assaulted both girls, and he brutally murdered Carol Lund and Silvina Peloso in the room. He then carried Julie to a vista point near Lake Don Pedro. He pledged his love, and then he cut her throat as the sun rose. The issue is no longer who committed the murders, but whether Stayner was insane at the time, and whether the confession of the FBI agents was coerced. Stayner, clad in a red jail jumpsuit, bowed his head but showed no emotion as Judge Hastings sentenced him to death 3 times, once for each murder, after returning to the courtroom. Stayner was already serving a life sentence for the murder of Joy Ruth Armstrong. The issue of whether Stayner's confession was coerced seemed to be resolved when on July 24th the court heard the recorded demands that Stayner made to the FBI agents that he wanted satisfied before he could give them his confession. Hastings rejected new defense claims that juror misconduct prevented a fair trial. The judge said that there was overwhelming evidence against Stayner and that the devastating emotional toll justified the execution. Francis Carrington, the father of Carol Sund and the grandfather of Julie, stated, "I've never seen anything that's so close to black and white and evil and good as Stayner and our children. I am so proud of the way Carol and Julie lived, and I'm so ashamed of Stayner." Stayner's father, Delbert Stayner, said his son was deprived of a fair trial by a kangaroo court and a judge who ignored defense arguments. "All of it's been bad," said Delbert Stayner of his family's life. A woman named Lena learned in 1999 that her mother, her sister, and her had nearly been murdered by Cary Stayner. Her mother had been dating him, and he decided to kill them on Valentine's Day. His attempt was foiled when other people were at their house at the time he was planning to commit those crimes. One brother, subjected to just unspeakable horror for years, but by all appearances, he was a happy-go-lucky, jovial kid with a girlfriend. You have the other brother, who's left at home, had no interest in girls, no interest in people. He was just a creepy loner. The Stayner family was made up of 2 brothers, 3 sisters, and parents Kay and Delbert. They lived in the farming town of Merced, California, the gateway to Yosemite. Stephen Stayner helped another child escape from a pedophile after enduring years of abuse and not wanting to see the child experience the same fate. Cary looked out for Stephen, according to Cary Stayner's former classmate, Jack Bungert. He loved his brother, hung out with him, played with him. The boys were still in elementary school when on December 4th, 1972, a man named Kenneth Parnell took 7-year-old Stephen while he was walking home from school on Highway 140. Parnell worked at the Yosemite Lodge, located about 2 hours away from the Stayner home. He befriended a coworker named Irvin Murphy to assist him in the abduction. Parnell and Murphy were driving towards town when Stephen was lured in their vehicle and abducted. Stephen became a national hero. On Good Morning America in March 1980, Stephen shared with host David Hartman that it felt great to be home. He told Hartman that his parents didn't change that much, but his brother and sister, they changed a lot. I never recognized either one of them. At a press conference outside the Stayner home, everyone was smiling, but Cary, in his baseball cap, wasn't smiling at all. The brothers, 4 years apart in age, shared a room, but they didn't get along. Stephen didn't understand the rules that he was now expected to live by. He also struggled in high school, where he was bullied for the abuse he had endured. Timothy White, the kidnapped victim that Stephen saved, was only 35 years old when he died. The dramatic story was told in the 1989 television series, I Know My First Name is Stephen. Timothy's stepfather, Roger Gitlin, said White died April 1st, 2010, of an apparent pulmonary embolism. Thank you for coming to my channel. If you would please give these videos a thumbs up and share them with people who are also interested in true crime, I would appreciate that. If you are not subscribed and you would like to be, please do so. And if you'd like to be notified when my content goes live, please click that bell. Also, if you are on a computer, on my homepage, there is a link that YouTube has generously given me for donations to help support this channel and a future trip for Rob and I to take of New England to hit all the haunted places and take you along with us. If you'd be willing to donate, that would be great. Good night.